The Senatorum Imperialis, officially the Lords Temporal, Martial, and Ecclesiarchical of the most divine and righteous Imperium of mankind, collectively form the Council of the High Lords of Terra. This council is the effective governing body of the Imperium, led by 12 leaders of the most powerful organizations within the state, who rule in the Emperor's name. The Senatorum itself is composed of tens of thousands of imperial dignitaries, noblemen, lords, and other officials, but these rarely meet, and the High 12 conduct the vast majority of affairs. The High Lords are amongst the most powerful individuals, not just in the Imperium, but in the galaxy at large. Their task is to interpret and enact the will of the Emperor, however they see fit, and have effectively formed the executive branch of the Imperium since the Emperor's interment on the Golden Throne. This office includes the direction of the Imperial war machine and civil industry, as well as the management of the Imperium's complex bureaucracy. They are also one of the few authorities in the Imperium that supersede the Adeptus Astartes, as they have the right to order the creation or destruction of Space Marine chapters. The original High Lords were bureaucrats of the Emperor who followed in his army's wake during the Unification Wars to build the foundations of his new empire. These earliest bureaucrats were known as the Lords Temporal, and as the Emperor's realm expanded, they were reorganized into the Lords Civilian. The four greatest Lords Civilian became known as the High Lords Civilian. The four original High Lords were the Master of the Administratum, Chancellor of the Estate Imperium, Grand Provost Marshal, and the Lord Commander Militant of the Imperial armies. Following the Unification Wars and the commencement of the Great Crusade, the High Lords served on the Council of Terra. These consisted of key individuals to the Emperor's rule and were originally staffed by the Fabricator General of the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Paternova of the Navis Nobilitae, the Master of the Astra Telepathica, and Regent Malcador, the Sigillite. Military matters were outside of the jurisdiction of this council, instead vested in War Master Horus. Following the Horus heresy, the High Lords of Terra succeeded the Council of Terra as the main executive body of the Imperium, as the beginning of the reformations initiated by Primarch Robert Guilliman, who joined the council as Lord Commander of the Imperium, commanding the entirety of the Imperial armed forces. Determining who will hold the position of High Lord has resulted in millennia of political intrigue between the various bureaucracies seeking to increase their power. However, some organizations are so powerful, so fundamentally important to the Imperium, that their position on the Council is considered sacrosanct. For this reason, the following 9 officers are almost always represented as High Lords: the Master of the Administratum, the Inquisitorial Representative, the Ecclesiarch of the Adeptus Ministorum, the Fabricator General of the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Grand Provost Marshal of the Adeptus Arbites, the Paternoval Envoy of the Navis Nobilitae, the Master of the Astronomicon, the Grand Master of the Officio Assassinorum, and the Master of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica. To balance out the permanent seats, the remaining 3 positions rotate and are filled from less politically influential imperial organizations. These roles tend to be more ad hoc, but the following officers are commonly found in possession of a seat: the Lord Commander of Segmentum Solar, the Lord Commander Militant of the Imperial Guard, the Cardinal of the Holy Synod of Terra, the Abbess of the Sisters of Battle, the Captain General of the Adeptus Custodes, the Chancellor of the Estate Imperium, the Speaker for the Chartist Captains, and the Lord High Admiral of the Imperial Navy. It should be noted that despite the military's eligibility for High Lordship, the Adeptus Astartes are constitutionally forbidden from participating in the Senatorum by Guilliman's original reforms after the heresy. Despite this, the rule has been broken during an emergency on at least one occasion. Since its modern foundation, the Senatorum has faced a number of evolutions and crises that have shaped it. In early M32, the rise of the Imperial Creed and the cult of the Savior Emperor in the Imperium meant that the Ecclesiarch of the Adeptus Ministorum was granted a seat, which soon became permanent. Later in the millennia, during the War of the Beast, the Senatorum was paralyzed by inaction as the Orcs devastated humanity, and multiple High Lords were removed, arrested, and even killed. During the conflict, the Imperial Fiskurland rose to become Lord Commander of the Imperium and removed the Ecclesiarchy from the High 12, though it would later be reinstated. In the aftermath of the conflict, the High Lords were all killed by the mad Grand Master of Assassins, Draken Vangorich's coup, who went on to rule the Senatorum for the next 100 years at the head of a puppet cabinet. After his death at the hands of Maximus Thane, anarchy reigned for a period before various Astartes chapters were able to restore peace. The next major upset for the council came in M36, when Gogi Vandire, master of the Administratum, led a coup d'état and became the Ecclesiarch of the Adeptus Ministorum, holding a dual role. During his reign of blood, the High Lords were powerless to act. When Fabricator General Gustaf Hidiatrix demanded that the High Lords account for themselves and execute Vandire, Gogi dissolved the High Lords and declared the Space Marines and Mechanicus as traitors. Before long, Gogi was killed, and the High Lords returned to power. Most recently, the Lord's role as sole executive has been completely upturned by the return of the Imperial Regent, Guilliman. In the closing days of the 41st millennium, the reborn Primarch returned to Terra and again declared himself Lord Commander of the Imperium. He pledged to appropriately deal with the High Lords and promised to reorganize and rearm the Imperium to face the coming threats. Soon after taking power, 5 of the High Lords were removed and replaced by Guilliman. Guilliman then oversaw a general purge of Imperial bureaucracy known as the Primarch's Scourge. Despite this, the High Lords remain amongst the most influential people in the galaxy. Guilliman may be dictator of the Imperium, but he still needs the cooperation and coordination of the Lords to accomplish his edicts, which allows them to continue to do what they've always done: play politics to their personal and organizational benefit. Ultimately, although the Imperium may posture itself as a dictatorial empire, under the veil it is truly an oligarchy. And while the God Emperor may be the master of the universe, until he returns, the High Lords are the masters of mankind. Thank you for listening to this entry from the Warhammer 40,000 Lexicanum.